ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. Well, this is going to be a different type of video for me because I'm going to tell you guys a story, and it's a story about one of my fish. Now, I really don't tell a lot of stories or talk a lot about my individual animals in my tanks, and maybe that's my fault, and maybe as a content creating community we don't do enough of that. But this is such an amazing story about one of my yellow tangs that I just feel like I need to tell it. And I want to warn you folks, it's not going to be some pretty footage of what this yellow tang went through. And I think sometimes we don't recognize sometimes the suffering that our animals undergo while in captivity. And so this is a tough story for me to tell because of what happened to this fish, but I think there is a happy ending in here, so I want to tell it. I think it's very important to me to tell this story because I think it's just simply amazing. So about 5 years ago, I purchased, I think it was 3 tangs at the same time: a purple tang, a yellow tang, and a sailfin tang. And the reason why I purchased them at the same time and put them into the tank at the same time was to avoid any warfare between the 3 fish, because if you put in tangs with similar body types, shapes, what have you, they can get nasty with one another. Well, anyway, I put all 3 of these fish in the tank right back behind me at the same time, and things were great for the first couple of years. This is a 187-gallon tank, so it's 5 foot long by 30 inches wide by 24 inches tall. I certainly thought it was large enough to avoid that warfare potentially between these tangs. So for the first couple of years, these fish got along great, and there were no issues whatsoever. But then, I don't know, around year 3 or 4 maybe it was, the purple tang just became super aggressive to this yellow tang. And again, I want to warn you folks about the footage that you're going to see. This is actually footage of the fish as of today. A few weeks ago, it was in much rougher shape, believe it or not. But so the purple tang just got crazy aggressive with this yellow tang, to the point where this yellow tang could not even come out and eat. I mean, it was just getting chased and zipped into the rock work. And at times, for several weeks, I didn't see the yellow tang. I thought it was dead. I thought the purple tang had just polished it off. But I don't know. I didn't see how I could have any options in terms of trying to get rid of the yellow tang, get the yellow tang out of the tank, other than just ripping apart that reef, taking out all the rocks, and keep my fingers crossed that it was still alive. So I felt helpless, and that made me feel really sad and bad about it, because I knew that fish was suffering. So this went on for months and months and months. And like I said, I thought the yellow tang was not alive anymore. But then a few months ago, the yellow tang would sort of like peek its head out underneath one of these rocks when feeding time came around. Obviously it was desperate. It was seeking food, and whenever I would feed the tank, it would just kind of slither out underneath this one rock and try to find an instance where it could dart out and grab some food before the purple tang just chased it back inside this rock work. And when I first saw this going on, the yellow tang was not coming out at all. It was just kind of nosing itself out a little bit, not in a position where it could feed. So it was obviously just petrified and had to stay inside the rock work in this tank. But then eventually, the yellow tang, I think just survival had kicked in, and it started making kind of these just kind of charging out, grabbing a couple of pieces of food, and then getting chased back inside. So it was willing to get the crap beat out of itself just to have some food so it could live. And the Yellow Tang at this point was nearly white because it had no exposure to any of the light in the tank. It looked like a ghost. And it was just so freaking thin that I couldn't believe it was still alive. And again, it just made me feel terrible in terms of what was going on. But I was feeling pretty helpless. So, but over time, the Yellow Tang got more bold. And with life, essentially, with its life on the line, it just spent more and more time out trying to get food. And, so we would pick up a couple of pieces of food here and there. The purple tang would see it and then just chase the Yellow Tang right back in the rockwork. And the Yellow Tang didn't seem weak. It wasn't like it was lackadaisical or something like that. This Yellow Tang had a lot of energy and just scooted back into the rockwork. Like, it seemed to like have all of its reflexes and what have you, and instincts still intact, despite the the fact that it hadn't had much food at all for months and months and months. About a month ago, I always feed my tanks nori. I put nori in with my fingers, and I kind of dangle in the water and let the fish come up to feed on the nori. Well, the Yellow Tang actually came out far enough where it got very close to my fingers in terms of feeding, and it took a couple of bites in the nori before the purple tang again just saw it and chased it back into the rockwork. So this got me thinking, it's like, wow, is there a way that I can dangle the nori, to a point where this Yellow Tang gets close enough where I can net it up? But fish, the minute you bring out a net, they're going to just go crazy. They're going to scatter. They know. Every fish knows about the net. And so I was just kind of thinking, maybe there is an escape plan for this Yellow Tang. I don't know. I didn't think much about it, but kind of like in the back of my head, there was some sort of hope. Crazy hope, I guess. So a couple days later, I was doing the same thing. I was dangling the nori near the top of the tank, and the Yellow Tang comes up to the nori, and I don't know what got into me, but I was like, I'm going to try to catch this fish in my hand. So I gently put my hand into the tank, cupped the Yellow Tang. And like I said, this Yellow Tang has a lot of energy. I mean, it was darting in and out, running away from this purple tang. So it could easily have gotten out of my hand. So I just gently, as it was just sitting there right in front of me, I gently cupped my hand around it, and it didn't move. And I slowly lifted it out of the water, walked through this room into my frag tank room. It did not wiggle. It did not give any signs that it was upset to be out of the water. And then I slowly dipped my hand into one of my 50-gallon frag tanks and put it in that frag tank. I was amazed. I wish I had caught that on video, because was that fish, was that a cry for help? Was that fish saying, save me, and allowed me to go in there and cup it, catch it with my hand, and take it out and save its life? It's an amazing story. And since then, a few weeks ago, the thing has been eating like crazy. It's got a new friend, the fox face, in the 50-gallon frag tank. It's out and about all the time. It's got like a new lease on life, and it just makes me so happy to see that. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it will survive, because it's really, really emaciated, as you could see. But like I said before, it was even worse a few weeks ago. So I just wanted to share that story. I hope you folks out there that see the condition of that fish don't flame me over that. I just felt like there was nothing I could do. But I just kind of wanted to put it out there and share this amazing, amazing story about this fish and our animals, and just again, speak to the sacrifices that our fish and animals are making to be in our captive reefs. I am just so thankful that we have this kind of hobby and that these fish, for the large majority, are thriving and doing well in our captive reef systems. I'm not saying that we're holding all these fish hostage and that they're at our mercy. I think when you have a great balanced reef aquarium, this ecosystem, that these fish are happy as can be. But I think this was just a very special story. So with that, I'm going to end the story and say thanks for watching. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you next time.